call yourself a man? You know you're a lying, low-life, motherfucking gambling degenerate prick. You know that's what you are?
Well, hello you degenerate fucks, and welcome to The Degenerate Gambler. It is Thursday, the 12th of August, and we're here just with another episode reviewing last week and then looking ahead to this weekend's fixtures. So, before I get to Sunday, I'll go over my Saturday bets. They had one pretty close, one not so close. But, so my main bet, which was a £10 5-tamer, I had Huddersfield to beat Derby. They drew one each. At Sheffield United to win. They were actually beat 1-0, which I was surprised. Beat 1-0 at home. Rotherham to win. They won 2-0. Wickham to win. They won 2-1. And Salford to win at home, and they drew one each. So, a mixed bag. As I said before, at the minute it's hard to pick because of form, because there is no form. But basically trying to pick teams who bought well, teams who got relegated who should go back up and should be strong in the league below. Just that sort of thing. I'll do the same again this week. Because, as I say, the form, until you get 5 or 6 games in, you sort of can't really see who's in good form. With the overs bet last week, again, it was just teams who consistently tend to score goals. So what I had done was Luton and Peterborough, it was up. Preston and Hull, it was up. Ipswich and Morecambe was up. Mansfield and Bristol Rovers was up. And then the one that beat it was Portsmouth and Fleetwood, which was only 1-0. And I think the goal was about 60 minutes. So there was no real cash or anything because, as I say, it was 1-0, and the other games were still, there wasn't many of these up with maybe 20 to go. I think the last of them, even one of the games, I think it was the Preston game, there was a penalty in the 94th minute, so no real option to cash out. But I don't like cashing out when I'm waiting for something to happen. I prefer to cash out when the bet's technically up and then you're waiting for something bad to happen, which can never happen in an over 2.5 because you're always waiting on something to happen until it happens and then bet's up. So anyway, it wasn't a bad day. I was disappointed. Obviously, I didn't get a bet up. My bet that evening, the less said about that, the better. It was terrible. But then went on to Sunday, where I think I did like a 6-tamer. It was only a £5 bet, but it was 24-1, and it was Fulham and Middlesbrough. Both teams have scored 5-6. Was up. Coventry and Forest to be over 1.5, 4-9. That was up. Livingston and Aberdeen over 1.5 at 1-2. That was up. Basel to win at home. Servette, I think you call the team they were playing, at 4-5, which I thought was a great price. They went like 5-1. And then Montpellier, Marseille over 2.5 was 10-11. And Copenhagen, Brøndby, both teams to score was 4-6. And obviously the bet won, so it was £124, which I was very happy with. Obviously it starts the season off well. Gives you that bit of confidence where you feel you can make selections. You feel like you're playing with the bookies' money. So I'll just talk a wee bit about those games because I did get some good luck. So Fulham, Middlesbrough scored late. Fulham were 1-0 up for a long time. In the Coventry, Forest and Livingston, Aberdeen games, I went a bit conservative with over 1.5 because Forest games are usually under 2.5 and Livingston as well. But both of them actually were over 2.5, so I could have went for that extra goal, but kind of glad that it didn't because I was happy to go conservative there because it was other games I fancied. As I said, Basel won 5-1. That was pretty easy. Copenhagen and Brøndby, both teams' score was up in the first half. I think that game finished 2-1 to Copenhagen maybe. So that was all up, and then I was going on to Marseille at 7:45. And then Marseille scored in like the 3rd minute and it was disallowed, and it's never a good sign that when you have an early goal disallowed. But then Montpellier scored, I think, in the 30th and then the 33rd minute. So pretty quick that it was 2-0 at half time. So that left me the whole second half to just wait on that one goal. I think Marseille scored in the 64th, 65th minute. And I think they end up winning 3-2. So it ended up being a 5-goal game. But I'd say happy enough. So I withdrew some money from the bookies. I did a small bet on Tuesday night. I have a bet on Wednesday night. And I'll probably do a bet on Thursday. Oh, just another thing. I'm actually recording this a day early. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I'm toying with the idea of doing this. Now that I hope that COVID's over and the games won't be getting postponed. I can get it done early and then get it out a wee bit earlier. Maybe put it out early tomorrow morning. Just gives people an extra bit of time to listen, so I can get a few more downloads. But yeah, so that was last week, as I say, £124. Happy enough with that. I was already up like 150 for the season, so that puts me up to 275 up, around about. Or well, maybe not. By the time I take off what I lost, so probably another 90 on to what I. So it would be 240. So anyway, I'll get to those later. I'll do episodes obviously like I did last year, every month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, of how my outright bets are going on, and also how my win-loss amounts are, whether I'm up or down or whatever. So anyway, that's that part of the road. Now that's the review part. Now I'm going to preview and pick my selections for the weekend. As I said before, the NAP, still going to leave it another 3 or 4 weeks, but I'll be in contact with people who usually do the NAP in the next couple of weeks to sort of tell them that I'm still want them to do it. So anyway, main bet this week, I've went 4 teams to win as my main bet, simply down the odds. So the first team I've went for is Leicester. Leicester are at home to Wolves, obviously the first game in the Premier League. You can't. There's no form, so what can I go on other than previous seasons and the fact that Leicester beat City in the Charity Shield at the weekend. So they beat City 1-0 and it was a pretty strong City team. Okay, no De Bruyne, but yeah. And normally Leicester have a pretty decent home record. They've beat Wolves 3 out of the last 5 at home. So I would hope that continues. And they are 7-11, which is 1.64 in decimal odds. And I've actually done the decimals this week. Was able to get those sorted out. So I know some people bet in decimal, I don't, but I like to give people both sets of odds just so that they understand. So next on the list for me is West Brom. West Brom drew last week with Bournemouth, who are one of the favourites for the league. But that was away from home. They played Luton at home. And they've beat Luton the last 3 times they played them at home. But again, we're talking here, we've got no realistic form. Luton won 3-0 at home last week against Peterborough, so I don't think there'll be a pushover. But I just do think West Brom have a good enough squad to go and beat them. And they are, that's 4-6, which is 1.67 in decimal. Next is another championship team, and it's the team I was just talking about who played West Brom last week, and that is Bournemouth. Bournemouth are away to Forest, and they're 11-10, which is 2.1. So really what that is, Forest don't concede many, but Bournemouth, they're looking like they're going to be one of the favourites for that league. Got a pretty good squad. I think 11-10 is a very inviting price, so that's my thoughts behind that one. Next we go into League One, and it is Portsmouth at home to Crewe. Now Portsmouth won their last week 1-0, obviously, because it beat our over 2s bet. They've got a pretty good home record. They beat Crew, they played Crew last year and beat them 4-1. Yeah, and Portsmouth had a pretty decent squad. They were unlucky to miss out in the playoffs, I think, in the last game of the season last year. So, sorry, I touched the mic. So yeah, Portsmouth at home, they are 3-4, which is 1.75. As I say, they would be one of the contenders for the playoffs this year. I've always said, when you want to win leagues, qualify for Europe, qualify for the playoffs, get promotion, you gotta win your home games. So I said this before, I'm trying to stick with, for the first load of weeks, home teams, because hopefully the fans being back, that home advantage, hopefully that's going to make the results more favourable for home teams, which, home teams should be winning at home. Simple. Lastly, a team that let me down last week in the League 2, and that is Salford. Now, Salford had a decent result last night. They went out in penalties, but they drew 3 with Derby, so that's a pretty good result against a championship team. And they drew last week with Leyton Orient, which was one of the teams that beat my main bet. But again, Salford at home against a team promoted from the National League, who were beat 2-1 last week. So, Salford, they've got a squad there of players that should be far too good for that league. So, I say they got a point last week. Hopefully they can go a bit better this week and get their win. Reasonable home record. They beat Salford, or they beat Sutton in 2019. I think that's when they were in the same league, 2-0. So yeah, that's the main bet. Odds of about 16.5, 17-1, depending on any price fluctuations. But so a tenner on that's going to get me 175, which is pretty good. I'm happy with that. Next, I'll go on to the side bet, which is the overs. I'll just run through this quickly again. What form can we say? We're just looking at teams who sort of historically score goals. And it is a bit of a stab in the dark. So Wigan Rotherham, which is 10-11, that's 1.91. Watford Villa, even money, that's 2.0. Hull QPR, even money, 2.0. Gaisley and AFC Failed, which is in the National League North, that's a strange price, 33-40, which works out in decimal at 1.83. So that's around 4-5, because 4-5 I'm nearly sure is 1.8. And then lastly, Mansfield versus Newport, it's 10-11, 1.91, and that totals up to 25.5-1. So 5 will be going on that. So that's the bets. One thing I actually forgot to do when I was doing the reviews, as I used to do last year, I would look through how many favourites won, because I think that's a good way, when you look at the weekend's fixtures, to surmise, was it a good weekend, was it a bad weekend, was there lots of favourites won, lots of outsiders won, lots of draws, whatever. So I've kind of updated a wee bit this season. I'm not going to go through every team who won. I'm just going to count the favourites and also count the draws. So I counted 50 games in England and Scotland. So that was Championship League 1, League 2, Scottish Premier League, Scottish Championship League 1, League 2. So it was 8 leagues. And there was about 50 games. And I was a bit surprised at this. I was. There was only 19 favourites won. As I've said before, that you want that to be at least 50%, or maybe touching 60%. It probably really should be higher, obviously, but if it's around 50-60%, you're sort of saying, 6 out of 10 favourites are winning. There's a bet there, there's something you should be able to pick, some winners out of that. And I say the first time I've done this, I just noticed that there was a lot of draws, so I thought to myself, well, I'll count the draws and we'll see how many there was. There was actually 17 draws, which is huge. 17 draws. It's only, so basically, excuse me, if you add those two together, so you got 36 out of 50 was favourite or draw, that still leaves, what's that, 14 outsiders winning. So in my opinion, that draw should be a wee bit lower. The outsiders should be lower, and the favourite should be in around the 30 out of 50 type mark. But look, that's the way the weekend went. I'll continue to do that every week. Like I say, it's just like a wee thing where you can sort of gauge whether there was plenty of bets out there or there wasn't. So that's basically me. All I'm going to do is ask guys, when I do put the episode out, and it's probably going to go out at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, which if you're already listening to this, it's out now. But when it does go out, please retweet the links of it when they're on Twitter, or like the post, or share with friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification for when you get a new episode that you download it, just try to share it as much as possible, as I say, using retweets, likes, things like that there, because it really does help. It spreads it to people who haven't heard it, and that's my whole aim here, is to gain listeners, followers, so that I have this online community of people who want to beat the bookies. But yep, that's basically it for today. It just leaves me to say, if you're doing a bet this weekend, good luck and happy punting.
Here, get the fuck out of here. Here, thanks. Let me find out you fucked up. I'll leave you wherever I find you.